This is Hog Farmer Jeff of the Hog Farmers, and before you listen to that team from DC with Caleb and Khadar, presented by the Red Zone in the Lab, please check out our website at hogfarmerscharity.org. We are starting a gaming go-karts for Children's Hospital campaign with a goal of $7,000 because kids deserve a chance to be kids. The Hog Farmers would like to purchase 2 gaming carts for 2 children's hospitals. Being in the hospital can be scary and isolating. Video games bring joy and are a source of relief. Please help restore a sense of normalcy for children during their hospital stays. We're helping kids by improving the patient's experience. It's a great way to socialize. 65% of gamers play with friends. It provides a sense of adventure, and sometimes healthcare staff even use it to assist with treatments. The cart is made up of hospital-grade construction and materials, 24-inch monitor with speakers, and secured storage bin and components. And please show some love by subscribing to the podcast on YouTube and visit www.redzoneinthelab.com. And as always, hail to the Commanders.
Caleb is going to get cooked, but in a nice way.
Man, I can't wait to see Caleb get cooked. It's going to be hilarious.
Khadar can hold his own, so it's going to be a challenge. Good luck.
Hey, have you heard of that team featuring Caleb and Khadar? Tap in today. I got Caleb cooking. New podcast alert. Podcast
I'm
alert.
trying to figure out how Caleb like the Mavs but hate the Wizards, man. They both trash, man. Get out of here,
Caleb
man.
and Khadar, a podcast? Man, that's the sports gumbo we never knew we needed.
Hey, yo, Khadar cookie Caleb, yo.
Man, they gotta let Caleb cook, man. It ain't his fault. Luka and Kyrie couldn't make it to the playoffs.
Looking forward to this. This is gonna be a goodie right here. 2 of the young bucks at a fan base. You know what I'm saying? Very
Caleb
informed.
or Khadar? Who's going 1-0?
So Caleb and Khadar are having a podcast together? Man, who's gonna
And
watch
he'll
that?
catch up and do his thing. But man, y'all got to see this or hear this or both. It's gonna
Caleb
be
is
crazy.
wild. So with Khadar, it should bring a little balance.
Yeah,
It should be entertaining.
This about to be a goodie. I gotta rock with my boy Khadar. Caleb in the Madden takes his trit of that.
Khadar and Caleb talking ball is like Kendrick and Drake talking music. Man, this is gonna be crazy. Let's go.
Now, how you think Caleb gonna beat up if he get too mad, man? I ain't trying to hear that nightstick come out.
It's nightstick time.
Welcome to the highly anticipated Season 1 of That Team from DC with Caleb and Khadar, presented by Red Zone in the Lab podcast. We in the city and we chopping it up about the Commanders and all DC sports. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Red Zone in the Lab and visit our website to subscribe to all our podcast platforms at www.redzoneinthelab.com. And gang, and let's get it.
Welcome, man. Welcome to That Team from DC. It's your boy Caleb. I got my guy Khadar right here, man. We're going to be talking about the sale news, BPA versus need. We're going to talk about the top 3 positions in the draft. The Bijan talk. I know it may get a little toxic in here, but we're going to talk about the Bijan talk. We'll talk about OTAs. Khadar, how you feeling, man? You doing good?
Man, happy to be here. You know, I'm
That's good.
head is all over the place with the Wizard news. You know, I just tap right into it. The Wizards today fired their general manager, Tommy Shepard. And, you know, I think that's very significant with the offseason they have coming up. The year after they give Bradley Beal the max contract and made him the second highest paid player in NBA history. You know, I think this move is a little weird. Not that it's wrong. I think I just question the timing and, you know, just the thought process behind the move, because a week ago they said they're sticking with their coach, Wes Unseld. So, you know, for this team, they just don't really have a clear sense of direction. So now, you know, the whole reason why Tommy got the whole job in the first place was because their GM search didn't really go well prior to hiring Tommy, right after they fired Ernie Grunfeld. So Tommy got the job. It's been some up and downs with Tommy. Tommy's made some good moves. Trading Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans for Kristaps Porzingis. He questionable move. Trading John Wall. That was the one that got you, Caleb.
Yeah.
But then they flipped Russell Westbrook for Trez, Kyle Kuzma, and other pieces. So now, in a pivotal offseason where Kuzma is going to be a free agent, Porzingis can opt out of his player contract or his player option and become a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
They might get a top draft pick depending on how the lottery goes.
Mm-hmm.
Free agency is really big because all this organization has shown is try to win right now with the roster, and you can see with the moves that they made, they're committed to winning. Hasn't really worked out. So I don't know, Caleb. It's not looking too pretty. I don't know if this team is going to figure out who their general manager is before the draft. And I don't know how they're going to go about the process, for them to say they're going to stick with Wes, where he hasn't really had any positives as a head coach. I think is very confusing.
Yeah, to be fair, from an outsider's perspective, how I'm looking at it, to be fair, it's a little weird for me. I'm looking at it from the standpoint. Let's see what he does with a good GM. Let's just
Who's
see
he?
what
Wes?
comes out. Yeah, let's see. You don't know, Khadar. That's what I heard today. Like let's see. What if you give him a GM that knows how to put a team in place? And at least put some, just give him a chance.
You got 3 damn near max players, man. And you talking about you can't even get in the play-in. So like,
but then again, they did get, who was that guard y'all took in the first round? Johnny Davis. It's a bad pick.
Hindsight's 2020. The team's good enough to make at least the play-in. You got Bradley Beal, Porzingis, and Kyle Kuzma. You mean to tell me that your defense, the 20th ranked defense, Wes Unseld inherited, has gone down to the mid-20s, and then it went back up to 21. So he hasn't, defense being his philosophy, he hasn't even really improved that. So to me, he hasn't had. I give you I gave you the positives with Tommy. Wes hasn't had any positives as the head coach. So for them to stick by him and say we're sticking with him, it just doesn't make sense because they're gonna stick with Tommy, or excuse me, they're gonna stick with Wes, and then they're gonna move on from Tommy as a way to get better. I think they should be a package deal in an effort to fully rebuild, just clean the whole house.
I get you. But let's talk about the sale news, man. We got some news today. If I don't know if anybody heard this Brian Davis guy, man. I don't know if you heard that interview, Khadar. That it was hilarious, man. It was hilarious. We know, I knew at least, this guy, he ain't getting this team, man. He just ain't. But even front office sports, AJ Perez wrote the article. He said everything is in place. Everything is in a good direction. We're just waiting for Snyder to accept. Do I believe he's going to accept? Yes, I fully believe that. The guy's not even nowhere close to the team. His office is already packed up. He in London. He chilling. In Deuce's Space today, the sit rep, there's a guy who tracks Dan Snyder's yacht. And he's like, yeah, bro, he's going around the coast of Europe. That dude doing his own thing. I think the NFL is trying to get this squared away. They're trying to get this done. So, yeah, I think there's going to be some type of confirmation, at least that it's final that Josh Harris is going to be the guy. Everything just has to be voted on. The signatures, all of that, the paperwork is cool. There's just some minor details they had to tweak out. Yesterday, they reported that in. I think you're the guy, man. Hopefully there's no hiccups. I believe there won't be any hookups. God forbidding, please.
Yeah, I thought the Brian Davis news was interesting right after they had agreed to the sale with Josh Harris, that he was coming out with a $7 billion bid. Because, it almost seemed too good to be true. A man that's coming out of nowhere with $7 billion as a former basketball player.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
A black owner? The NFL don't have no black owners. That would be like a miracle. Like,
don't get me wrong. It would be nice to see though.
Yeah, 100%. So my favorite football team to have a black owner, the first black owner in the NFL, that would be tremendous. But it's just, again, I just didn't really, it just seemed like a whole lot of cap on Twitter. I just couldn't really believe that news.
Yeah, shout out to my friend. I know I told him I'd be sending him the link to these spaces. Khadar, he gonna be a guest on here one day. Shout out to my boy Mark. He back at home in the area. I told him this, and he was like, "Cap." I call cap, Caleb. I smell cap. It don't make any sense. It just doesn't. How are you worth 13 million or 15 million? But you got 7 billion in cash, and then when you research all of his stuff, it's not adding up. I'm not saying this guy's a bad guy or anything, but like personal wise, but this the math ain't mathing.
100%. And the thing is this wasn't Ballsack Sports, putting out news on Brian Davis's bid. These were some credible sources coming out and saying that he's bidding $7 billion, and that made it real confusing for me. As far as Josh Harris goes, I mean, we talked about it on the first episode. I'm real excited about that move just because the fact that, let me put it to you like this: the Philadelphia 76ers and the New Jersey Devils are both in the playoffs this year. What does that tell you about just him as an, NFL or a potential NFL owner, as it relates to his past success? And on top of that, you get in Magic, who's won everywhere he's been, to be a minority owner with this team.
Said he won a Super Bowl ring.
He wants a Super Bowl ring. And Magic is just a good person. Like, Magic speaks very well. I think Magic is all for, fan engagement. And Magic is just the perfect voice, I feel, for this organization. You got Jason Wright and you got Magic Johnson. That's a whole culture change.
Just imagine him. Just imagine the Khadar. Just imagine it. Playoffs, right? Let's say we in the playoffs, and let's say we gotta win this game to get to the division to get to the playoffs. You see Magic out there in the field. He's like, yeah, go. He engaged with the fans, That's who Magic is, man. He gonna make it feel like he gonna make the fans feel appreciated, I feel like. Or even the players. He may be that type of guy we don't know, but this is just a guess. He could be that type of guy that walk around the building and, say, what's up to everybody? How y'all doing? This, and that. He's engaging with people. He wants to have connections with people. Structure, some type of stability. That's what this team needs. That's what they've been lacking for a long time. They need structure. They need stability. They need a foundation. That's what this team needs. And that's how good organizations are. That's what the Sixers have. And you see the Devils, they got that too. But
so I hope they get this done before the draft. That would just be excellent as far as timing goes. And speaking of the draft, we got a lot of different ways we could approach this. On Twitter, we got a lot of NFL GMs on Twitter, a lot of Twitter GMs, making mock drafts.
Tell me about it.
Seeing different pieces, go in different rounds and, maybe even making some trades. How do you see best player available versus need? I'll start. So, I think for me, you got, different needs that have to be addressed. And sometimes teams neglect to do that in free agency. So if you have some glaring needs that you haven't addressed early in the offseason, I think you got to get it done in the draft. So for us, I think we have to go need, because when you go best player available, I think that's more of a luxury. If you got a player that's the best player available at a position where you have a surplus, how do you get better as a football team if you know that he's not going to play? If I'm drafting somebody in the first round, he's got to be an impact player. He's got to be a starter. He's got to be ready to go for this team. All right. It does me no service to draft a guy that's just going to sit on the bench that isn't going to contribute. Right. So I think you can address it, differently round by round. Maybe you go best player available in a particular round after you address your needs. Like we saw it last year with Sam Howell getting picked in the 5th round. Ron Rivera said himself, after we filled all our needs, we were able to take the best quarterback on our board at that particular time. So he was able to get the best player available in the 5th round, but he wasn't willing to do the best player available up until he addressed all of his needs. So what do you think?
Well, yeah, you hit the nail on the head, bro. I think it all depends on where your team is, where the roster is, and the state of the team. Look at the team in our division. Look at the Eagles. Look at the way how they set up all their picks for the future, and the way they draft wisely. They draft not only for the present, but also for the next man coming up. That's what they've done. So they got that 10th pick. That's a luxury pick for them. They just made it to the Super Bowl. They just made it to the bowl. They lost. Sucks for y'all. Glad y'all lost. They lost, but that 10th pick is a luxury pick for them. They can pick an impact player. Whereas far as us, we still have to address certain positions, and we'll get to that later, of course. But we got to address certain positions that we have to solidify that. And I'm not trying to risk that right now with this team. I'm not saying we don't take a bet like one of the best players in the draft. I'm not saying you don't want to stack up on talent, but you just have to be very smart with this. That's why those guys up in the front office, they get paid the big bucks. That's why we don't get paid the big bucks, Khadar. Because
I don't know, man. I feel like I'd be a better GM than you, Caleb.
Okay, sure.
But you did say something I agree with. You said they lost. You said they lost, right? The Eagles. I'm still on Rihanna's halftime. So I'm just saying. But
we'll get to that. But no, man, it's there's clear examples of teams picking the best player available, and it's worked for them. But just because they do it doesn't mean it's going to work for us. The Bengals did it with Jamar Chase when they could have got Penei Sewell. They had Penei Sewell right now. Oh my gosh, look at him on the line. That guy is great. But Jamar Chase, it worked out. But just because you want to copy what another team does doesn't mean it's going to be successful for you. You get what I'm saying? Like, just because another team does it, don't mean you got to do it in that way. I mean, this is a repetitive league, and people tend to copy off each other defensively, offensively, front office wise. But when it comes to things like that, you just got to be careful. You better know what you're doing at the same time, because if not, it's going to blow back up in your face.
Yeah, man. I think it's case by case, and just with this football team, whether you draft best player available or need, you just got to get it right, man. As far as the prospect that you're getting, you don't want to get a guy that A, sits on the bench, or B, is a bust. That's where people lose their jobs. That's the last thing you want to do, is draft a player that doesn't meet the expectations, or the draft notes that you took on him, don't, show up on, game film. So,
yeah. And for this team, like I said, I think depending on where it is and depending on what position you value the most, we have to, it's a balance that you have to get. It's a give and take balance, man. You just have to know what you're doing. But top 3 position needs for this draft. For this team, what does this team need, Khadar, in your eyes? The top 3 positions.
Not Bijan, I'll tell you that. We don't need Bijan. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something. For everybody that's saying Bijan Robinson at 16, this is why you're not the GM of this team. No. Okay? No.
Y'all know who y'all are. Y'all know who y'all are.
What good does it do to take Bijan? Listen, you know how, like, you would go out as a kid and, like, you'd be like, yo, I want McDonald's. Like, you'd ask your parents, and they'd be like, yeah, we got McDonald's at home.
Well, we got it at the house.
We got B-Rob at the crib. We got B-Rob. We don't need B-Rob, man. We got B-Rob. We're straight.
Yeah. So
B-Rob is, listen, top 3 positional needs, man. Top 3 positional needs. We need, number 1, corner, okay?
Agreed.
When was the last time the Washington Football Organization had a game changer at the cornerback position?
I can only think of 2 or 3. Of course.
Game changer.
Of course you got Champ Bailey, who he drafted. Of course you got him. I believe D'Angelo Hall was really, really good for us. when we got him. And some of the older people, you got to give respect to the elders, respect to the Commander fans that came before me and Khadar. Yeah, people like Sean Springs a lot.
I dig Sean
Yeah,
Springs.
people, corner is a big. We need a corner. St. Juice, I love St. Juice, but you still want to stack up in that BB room. And I'm looking at offensive line. I'm looking at tackle. I'm looking at tackle specifically and guard. Charles Leno, love him to death. How he's played for us on that contract was really good for us. But you also got to look into the future. He's not the future left tackle here. Wiley's going to be here for 3 years. Cosme, I think he can play well at guard. You want to address the left guard position too. City Charles, Chris Paul, we don't know. I still want them to draft a guard in the third round. So I'm looking at tackle. I think we need tackle. And then my third position, Khadar, is it's going to be it's between linebacker for me a little bit, but I'm also looking at that. I'm also looking at that tight end position. I'm looking at the tight end position. And I get a lot of pushback for that because we have young tight ends on this team. We just don't know what they're going to be. We just don't know. And I don't feel like taking that risk going into the off season, if you get what I'm saying. I don't take that risk.
Well, the cool thing about the draft is you definitely take swings. And, we've taken swings at running back. We've taken swings at tight end. While we made those positional picks, the question is, how did our draft board look? What were our needs at the time we made those picks? Regardless, we made those picks and we have those players. And for the most part, the results have been okay. So for me, the reason why corner I have at 1 is just because the NFL just being a passing league, you can't have too many corners. You're going to have corners that are going to play at all times. Depth is critical at the cornerback position where the NFL is becoming more and more spread out and they have more game-changing receivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, corner has to be at the top, especially with, you could see last couple of years, we've had players out to COVID. We've had players out to injuries. We got to have guys that are out there ready to suit up and guard the elite receivers in our division. CeeDee Lamb,
exactly.
Devontae Smith.
You know what I
even Isaiah Hodgins was giving us trouble, man. So, offensive line, I got that at 2. With the young quarterback that we have coming up, Sam Howell, we got to make sure that he's, equipped with success by having guys that are going to go out there and fight for him and keep him upright. And then for me, third, you mentioned tight end. Tight end to me, it is a need, but I would put that at 4 or 5 for me. Third has to be linebacker. Losing Cole Holcomb hurts, and just the lack of depth that we had in the position prior to losing Cole Holcomb. I think we got to have linebackers that can go out there, make tackles, cover guys, and just be available. Cam Curl, great safety. He wears the green dot for us on defense. It wouldn't hurt to have another linebacker out there to, kind of take some relief off of Cam Curl and be the captain of the defense.
Yeah, I think another way to take some relief off Cam Curl is if you actually, if you address that position. If they can get a guy who's very versatile in playing that role Cam Curl is, I believe if you make Cam Curl play one position, I think he can be great at that one position.
Yeah.
He moves all over the field. He's very valuable to this defense, and you want to not. I don't want that guy to get hurt so much because when he's hurt, man, this defense struggles. So if they can get a linebacker or even a safety, if it's a safety that can play linebacker, which actually I'm glad we're talking about this. I don't know if you saw that report, but the Cardinals are looking to move on from Isaiah Simmons. And he came from that 2020 draft. He's a guy that can play linebacker and safety. Cardinals ain't using him right. You can use him in that aspect that you use Cam Curl. You make Cam Curl play the strong safety position. You put Isaiah Simmons in that. You move him around a little bit.
Buffalo nickel that Landon Collins used to play.
That guy, he's like 6'4", 2. Like that guy can move. He can move. Isaiah Simmons, he's a talented young football player. He came out of that 2020 draft with Chase Young. Even in that draft, some fans would have loved to trade back. Speaking of trading back, if Bijan is there at 16, I'm trading back. I don't care what nobody says, man. It just doesn't make sense to me. And today was a perfect day to have this podcast, man. It was a perfect day because Daniel Jeremiah spoke with Bucky Brooks today in an interview, and I'm glad my boy. Shout out to George. He's in our Twitter group chat. I'm trying. Me and Khadar, we gotta have him on here as a guest. He screen recorded an interview with those two guys, and they said running back is a type of position where I'm not saying it's not a valuable position, but you see that it's expendable. It's always expendable. You look at each draft throughout the years, there's always a couple of good running backs in that draft. Look at last year. You saw the running back class, Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, and even a year before.
Brian Robinson, man, we got B-Rob at home. I'm trying to tell you.
Then you got Travis Etienne for the Jaguars. He can play. There's guys this year that were very productive. For example, I'm not saying this guy's electric. I'm not saying he's elite. Look at Austin Eckler and look at Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon had 10 touchdowns this year, and they're not paying him. Austin Eckler, he's a touchdown machine. The Chargers aren't paying him. Why is that?
The Chargers don't pay any running backs. We saw that with Melvin Gordon. We saw that with LT. But I think the positional value at running back has to be the lowest compared to any of the other skill positions. Like there's no reason for me with this particular team. If we were one piece away, if we were a team that just got to the Super Bowl and we didn't have a running back that was capable, if we didn't spend in the draft at running back like we have in the past few years with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, then you could argue maybe taking a running back. But, like you mentioned with, Breece Hall, with Kenneth Walker from a year ago, even Brian Robinson, who we got in the third round, you can see that there are capable and a lot of value in, some of these running backs that are available after the first round. One of the running backs that's available right now because, of many different reasons related to contract and, injuries is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is available right now. He wasn't a first-round pick. And Dalvin Cook, for a while, was a great running back, and is still considered a top 5 back to many people. Nick Chubb, who's with the Cleveland Browns, wasn't a first-round pick. So there's a lot of guys that you can get outside of the first round. And for the position of running back that isn't getting paid, for a position like that isn't really as valuable with just the NFL being a passing league, it's a luxury pick to have a running back in the first round. You don't really need that.
Yeah. And just to prove my point about this, running backs, how it's replaceable. Look at the two teams in our division. What did they just do, Khadar? The Eagles just let go Miles Sanders. He had he was a top 6 rusher in the NFL. They let him go.
And the Cowboys let go of Zeke, and they're relying on Tony Pollard to come off a broken leg and be their feature back.
Look at the Giants.
Yeah, I mean Saquon right now is holding out. Those two teams, the Cowboys and the Eagles, man, they might be on the Bijan watch, man.
And I don't care. And people, I don't want him to go to a division team. I don't care about that. I'm not picking a player just because I don't want him on another in my division or on an opposing divisional team. It just don't make sense. Because this team, we need to practice with these players. We need to develop chemistry. And speaking of chemistry building, the off-season training, Khadar, it was nice to see EB out there, man. You got my boy Sam Howell had an interview with Julie Donaldson. I listened to the interview too. It was a nice little 5-minute interview. I believe in that kid, and we're going to get to that in the future too. I believe in that kid, Sam Howell. He's going to be a starter for us. He's going to be a competent quarterback for us. But yeah, this all-season training camp, Chase Young was out there. It's good to see. Deron Payne was out there. John Allen. Everybody was out there. Terry, Curtis, Jahan, everybody out there, man. And I think this team, they're going to develop some chemistry. They're going to get this offense right. I'm not really concerned about the defense. My thing is, I want to see that offense rolling.
Yeah,
and Chase Young looks slimmer. Khadar, if you actually look at some of those pictures, he looked a little slimmer. It looked like he got a little. He may have some speed to him. I don't know, man. I know.
Yeah, I just hope he's healthy. But I think with OTAs, man, this is huge. Sam Howell did only play one game last year, but this is his second season now as a pro in the NFL. So with EB, these OTAs are critical for him to get up to speed and be on the same page with what EB wants to do offensively, and to have no distractions. Like, the distractions that we have are things that players with the team, and just having an improved culture than what we've had in the past. Players aren't being asked questions about players holding out. We have all of our guys ready to go, and we just want to win. This offseason, man, with these OTAs, with Sam, with all of our guys, the Giants, look at the Giants right now. Saquon and Dexter Lawrence both holding out for contracts. Players got to answer to that. That's a distraction that nobody wants to have,
Because when Terry did that last year, everybody was, "Oh my God, Terry, good comeback."
Yeah, and just like we weren't really worried about Terry too much. We kind of knew. I don't know about you, but I had a feeling Terry would be back.
I wasn't worried at all. I really wasn't worried at all. Everybody, he may not come back. We don't re-sign players. This and that. They re-signed Terry. They re-signed Deron. So now, if any other player come up, I ain't sweating. They already showed themselves that they re-sign players when they perform.
Yeah.
And Cam Curl's coming up. Cam Curl
got to get that one, man.
Cam Curl go get his money. He go get his money.
Pay the man. Hey, Commanders front office, if y'all hear us, pay 31. We need him with this future of the team right now. Can't go nowhere.
Pay my guy. Pay my guy Cam Curl, man. Pay my guy. But yeah, man, I'm excited for this EB thing, man. I'm really excited. I think he gonna get these guys right. Discipline. He gonna have them on schedule. Pay attention to details.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to see how it works, and I can't wait to talk about it more.
Yeah, so because I think we'll get this offense right. It's the only way. I'm not asking for much, but this offseason training camp, I gotta go. I don't know, cause I don't know if you're gonna pop up, but I'm in Georgia. I may have to take a little bus up there, for the weekend. I may have to see them practice around July. I may have to just to see the vibe, man. I haven't been to a training camp in so long. In so long, I haven't
you pulling up to the draft party though next week.
Yeah. I'll be there.
I see you there.
Yeah.
So next week, y'all, we gonna do a little mock draft right before the NFL draft. We'll see if we agree on some of our picks. We'll see
we're going live
positional needs that we draft. I tell you what, the way it's looking, some of you Twitter GMs might get Bijan on your mock draft, not me and Caleb. So we're definitely not going running back with the first pick, right, Caleb?
No. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, man. You gotta.
But you never know. Some of the picks we make might surprise you. So make sure y'all tune in. Another episode is episode 2 now. We flying through. Caleb and Khadar, welcome to DC podcast. That team from DC.
Yes, sir.
Peace and love.
Peace, love, y'all.
Now keep it 100. That wasn't so bad now, was it? Spread the word. Because like Dion say, we coming. Thanks for listening to the Team from DC podcast. We truly appreciate your time. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at redzoneinthelab.com and also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can download our podcast at your usual podcast platforms. Also visit redzoneinthelab.com. See you next time. Gang, gang. Holla at your boy.